The movie begins more than 2,000 years ago, when an alien named Piccolo arrived on Earth with his loyal disciple, Waru. Together, they began to wreak havoc across various countries, dominating with their alien powers. Fortunately, a group of monks, tired of all the chaos, created the mafuba, a mystical technique powerful enough to trap Piccolo in a container. This container was hidden near the Earth's core, and with their master defeated, Waru disappeared, leaving humanity to restore peace. The problem? Nobody knew this had happened, including a young man named Goku, who spent his days training with his grandfather Gohan and being thrown at pumpkins for not being able to control his ki. Ah, youth! After a training session in which, once again, Goku fails miserably at trying to master his ki, Gohan decides to give him his 18th birthday present, an orange ball, which he calls a Dragon Ball. Gohan explains that there are 7 in the world, and the one Goku received is the 4-star ball. What does it do? Well, nothing by itself. But when all 7 are brought together, it's possible to summon the Dragon Shenlong, who can grant any wish. Like any curious teenager, Goku asks 1,000 questions, but before he can get answers, he goes to school, where his day only gets worse. His encounter with Fuller, the school bully, results in a wrecked bike and a lot of frustration. Luckily, Chi-Chi shows up to save him and even invites him to a party later that night. While Goku is enjoying the party, Piccolo, who somehow inexplicably managed to break free, maybe some cosmic alarm went off, is already hunting for the Dragon Balls. After a scene of him raiding a village, he and his henchwoman might leave no one standing. Meanwhile, on the other side of the story, Goku is trying to impress Chi-Chi and ends up destroying Fuller's Camaro. Chi-Chi, of course, thinks it's awesome. But the joy doesn't last long because Goku senses that something terrible has happened. His grandfather was attacked by Piccolo. When he gets home, he finds Gohan among the wreckage, barely able to speak. His grandfather instructs him to find Master Roshi and gather the Dragon Balls before the next eclipse. Like any good hero, Goku accepts the mission after a dramatic tearful scene. On the way, Goku runs into Bulma, who is searching for her own Dragon Ball. After an exchange of gunfire and Dragon Balls, the two decide to team up. Together, they find Master Roshi, who wastes no time putting Goku to train. After a few punches here and there, Goku discovers that his late grandfather and Roshi were old friends and that, in fact, the old master was the guy who could train him to face Piccolo. Oh, and yes, Piccolo is planning to release Waru during the Blood Moon, which happens in 2 days. After a break for a desert trip and a funny fight with Yamcha, who just wants to charge a fortune to get Bulma out of a hole, the group camps out, and Roshi decides to share the story of how 7 warriors gave their lives to create the Mafuba and seal Piccolo in the past. The current plan is simple: find all the Dragon Balls and use them to banish Piccolo for good. Oh, and of course, avoid the apocalypse. The problem is they only have 2 days until the eclipse. Now, something I wouldn't do in this situation is leave the house without at least taking a backpack with some snacks. Nobody can save the world on an empty stomach. And I'd definitely grab a new Camaro in the process. After all, Fuller won't be needing his anymore. One interesting point is the combination of martial arts and cosmic fantasy, but the use of the Mafuba technique as the key to defeating Piccolo adds an intriguing touch of mystical mythology to the plot. And did you know the movie was so poorly received that the screenwriter, Ben Ramsey, publicly apologized for it? He admitted he only took the job for the money, and honestly, I don't blame him. This movie is terrible. But, back to the story. Master Roshi, always full of energy, even as an old man, jumps out of a hole in the ground like he's in a gym and forces Yamcha to toss down a ladder so they can climb up, and of course, also grabs some digging tools to dig out the Dragon Ball thereafter. After some time breaking through a wall, the team finds a tunnel that leads them straight to the heart of a lava sea. There, they spot their Dragon Balls and try to find a way across the lava, like that's easy. But, as always, the villains are never far behind. An army of Saiyamen shows up, ready to cause trouble. Even though they're outnumbered, the Z warriors take them all down, until they realize the Saiyamen have a Hydra-style setup, multiplying every time one gets defeated. So, Roshi sends a Kamehameha that knocks one of the Saiyamen into the lava, burning him up for good and preventing him from splitting. Quick on the draw, Goku catches on and starts tossing the monsters into the magma too, forming a bizarre bridge of bodies over the scorching sea. Just as Goku, ever the fearless hero, gets close to the 6-star ball, Mai shows up, all smug, and kicks him in the face, stealing the orb. Goku, not happy about it, chases after the thief and, being way stronger, beats her without even breaking a sweat. With the ball in hand, Bulma warns them that only 2 days remain until the eclipse, causing a small crisis among the group. There's not enough time to find all the missing balls. But Rashi, always the wise one, or not, suggests that the Mafuba is their last hope and decides to return to the temple, where he asks his old master, SAIYAJIN, to prepare a containment jar, as he's willing to sacrifice all his life energy to trap Piccolo. Meanwhile, the martial arts tournament begins, with Chi-Chi facing off against Mai, not knowing that her opponent works for Piccolo. Mai, being sneaky, cuts Chi-Chi and slips away from the fight, stealing a drop of her blood in the process. Goku shows up to talk to Chi-Chi, apologizing for missing the match, too busy saving the world, and heads straight to the training room, where Rashi finally decides to teach him the legendary Kamehameha. Rashi demonstrates the technique, then tells Goku he must practice until he can light all the torches with his ki. After spending the night trying, Goku gives up and has the brilliant idea of using a candle to light the torches. But of course, Chi-Chi catches him in the act and calls him out for cheating. She gives him a few lessons on concentration, and with that, Goku finally masters the Kamehameha. That night, Bulma hears footsteps in Goku's room, where the Dragon Balls are being kept. Armed with her trusty gun, always prepared, she goes to investigate and catches Chi-Chi sneaking out. Bulma, relieved, lowers her weapon and lets the girl go. Moments later, though, Goku shows up, outside the room. That's when Bulma realizes she's been tricked by Mai, disguised as Chi-Chi, and the girl is now holding all the Dragon Balls. In a panic, the Z warriors chase after Mai, who throws a grenade launcher to create a wall of fire. But her cleverness doesn't last long. The real Chi-Chi appears out of nowhere and takes the imposter down. Now, the real fight between Chi-Chi and Mai begins, while Goku, with his brilliant deductive skills, is lost, not knowing which Chi-Chi to help, a classic Who's Who dilemma. Suddenly, one of the Chi-Kais is knocked down and calls for Goku's help, prompting him to attack the other. But of course, he chooses the wrong one, and it's the real Chi-Chi who gets hit. Meanwhile, Mai recovers, shoots Goku, and escapes. With Goku injured and nearly dying, Rashi pulls a peculiar move to save him. He gathers all his ki into his hands and launches a Kamehameha into Goku's chest, like a mystical defibrillator. The trick works, and Goku wakes up, fully revived like nothing happened. With all the Dragon Balls in hand, Rashi realizes Piccolo plans to resurrect Shenlong at the Dragon Temple, and the Z warriors rush to stop him. When they arrive at the temple, Piccolo is already placing the balls on the altar, while Goku, always stylish, puts on his grandfather's uniform. Yamcha turns their car into a flying vehicle, and when they reach the top, Rashi prepares a Kamehameha to try to stop the ritual. Piccolo, sensing their approach, fires an energy ball that collides with Rashi's attack, knocking the balls off the altar and sending the car crashing, scattering the Z warriors like bowling pins. Piccolo descends to face the group, and Rashi grabs the Mafuba jar, ready to imprison the villain. At this moment, Piccolo reveals that Goku is actually a scion named Kakarot, and during the eclipse, he will transform into the giant ape Ozaru, destined to crush his friends. And, wouldn't you know it, it actually happens? The eclipse arrives, and Goku transforms into the big ape, starting to chase Bulma and Yamcha. Here's where things get even more absurd. While the giant Goku tries to squish Rashi like a chew toy, the master tries unsuccessfully to talk him down. But Goku, out of control, ends up killing Rashi. Yup, the old man bites the dust. In the midst of his primal rage, Goku begins to remember the good times with his master, controlling the transformation and returning to normal. With his form restored, Goku goes after Piccolo, who tries to hit the Saiyan with multiple ki attacks, but Goku fights back. The fight between the two is airborne and full of punches, as usual, but they're equally matched and end up repelling each other. Meanwhile, Bulma is nearly caught by Mai, who shows up again, trying to shoot her. In a chase through the tunnels, Bulma pulls out her pistol and starts firing at Mai, who dodges like a ninja. Out of ammo, Bulma makes a genius move. She pretends to hand over the Dragon Ball but throws a capsule that turns into a tricycle midair, nearly crushing Mai. Yamcha then shows up by surprise and finishes my off with a shot from behind. At the peak of the Dragon Temple, Goku gathers all his energy into a Kamehameha and attacks Piccolo up close, finally defeating him once and for all. With the battle over, the Z warriors gather around Roshi and decide to use the Dragon Balls to bring him back to life, because, of course, no one stays dead in this universe. Goku summons Shenlong, the sacred dragon, who, without hesitation, resurrects Roshi. With the old man back and the Dragon Balls scattered across the world again, peace returns. At least, until the next crisis. In this infamous movie that many prefer to forget, our actor Justin Chatwin, who plays Goku, had to train in martial arts to bring credibility to the role. Too bad the script didn't help much. Speaking of which, what was the most interesting part of this for you? Or is there even an interesting part in this movie? I'll leave you 2 great videos to check out. Stay well, and see you there.